People still get the joke.
That'll be somewhere. I hope for the series, as the series go on to the next round and next round. So,
Yeah, we're crazy busy.
yeah.
Oh my God. I'm working tonight. Aaron's working tonight. He's working.
Call a special meeting of the Lancaster Village Board to order. Stand for the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk treasurer please call the roll?
Mayor Schroeder,
Here.
Trustee Malone Schaefer,
Here.
Trustee Michaely,
Here.
Trustee Miller,
Here.
Trustee O'Brien.
Here. Okay, the purpose of the special meeting today is to discuss the merchant run events and the cost to the village of Lancaster. I think once we realized that things were getting to be pretty popular, the village took a position of having to protect the street with public works trucks and drivers readily available to move them in the case of an emergency where we need to get an ambulance and a fire truck in there. And depending on the size of the event, sometimes the DPW goes with 3 people. It's costing us roughly $1,300 per event for DPW help when the merchants close the streets. And I'd like to know how the board feels about that. This is something that's actually budgeted. Again, nobody knew the Sabres were going to the playoffs. I mean, this is a good problem to have, I might point out. But taking a look, I mean, if the Bills continue the way they did last year, we can look for more of these types of parties and things like that. And I think it's a discussion the village board needs to have. And so I'm open for comments, suggestions.
Right now, I would say, I mean, everything is in place with the application for the event to be held on Tuesday, May 12th. Shutting down the street for no parking beginning around 5 o'clock and then by 5:15 for the cars to be out of there. Everything is set up the exact same way as the first one. First one was run very well. And I've already talked to Greg. Depending on the weather, the feedback that he's getting, he's anticipating a bigger crowd than the first one. So the only ask, and we've already talked about it, was increasing security by 1 or 2. So he's aware of that. That appeased the chief with any kind of concerns that he had as far as crowd size and whatnot. So today I'd like to approve the events application for his event. Is the idea worth a discussion? It's certainly worth a discussion, should there be other merchants around, things like that. So maybe we schedule something else where they can be there. I would be open to it, but for right now, the application for the event on Tuesday, I'm ready to approve.
All right. Can I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the event application for the Sabres Watch Party on Tuesday, May 12th, street shutting down beginning at 5.
Okay, we have a motion by trustee Malone Schaefer,
Second.
second by trustee O'Brien. Under the question. Yes, Mike?
Regarding this, the new application, the certificate of insurance, it's saying that you have to indicate by resolution if it's being exempted or if it's being provided, which it wasn't included. So are you exempting that?
Oh,
I did have that certificate issued and sent it to Greg. I don't know who sent it, but I can email it to
wasn't.
him.
Okay,
Okay, and that's what.
just to
so,
address that.
then to make the motion to approve
You wouldn't
the
need to exempt it
application,
as long as
including,
contingent on receipt.
perfect.
On the question, Tammy, what is the certificate, who's the insured on the certificate?
Lancaster Village Merchants Association, and the certificate, the village has been added as an additional insured at 54
It's
Place,
going to cover this event.
covering this event specifically.
So you mailed it to somebody?
I emailed it to Greg. I thought he submitted it with the package. Apparently he did not,
So
I
you're
can-
going to get that to the board then?
I can email him.
So the exemption is not necessary?
Right.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Under the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Now to get back to the question at hand, how does the board feel about, the fees that we need to charge for these events and just paying them out as they go on? And any comments, questions?
I think the can has kind of been kicked around a few times, and I think if it's an idea to have a meeting, I think it's one that should be scheduled out a little bit so there's representation from their Merchants Association to give some kind of feedback if they have different ideas. To include that, I would not be ready to do anything with it at this meeting.
Well, yeah, I don't think we would approve anything this meeting. I think it's just starting that conversation. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Bill?
I mean, it's-
Yeah, I thought we were going to discuss it. We had a meeting back in, was it January, February, I think, with the merchants. I thought we were supposed to discuss it then, but I think it ended up being too busy and we didn't get to get to it. I think it's something that, at least as long as I've been on the board, it's been discussed as something the village is looking into, or at least parts of the village are looking into. In my mind, I see a lot of benefits from these events. That last Sabres party, which was thrown together by a private individual, not anyone who works for the village, benefited the village. The village of Lancaster was in the news, was on national news for having a fun and exciting event that was open to the whole community. It wasn't like they charged a fee. Like, you didn't have to buy alcohol to attend this event. I actually talked to one merchant on West Main who normally doesn't really see any, doesn't have much enthusiasm for the events that are more alcohol driven. She liked the Sabres watch party because she saw a whole family showing up to come out in the village. So I think, if you look at it from a community benefit, from an economic benefit, and from, like marketing the village as a place where people want to be and come spend money, come live, these are good opportunities. So I just hope you keep that in mind. There's money, but, there's a benefit from it as well. There's an expense the village might have, but we have to weigh whether what we're paying is worth what we're getting back. I think if you frame it that way, $1,300 doesn't seem quite as expensive.
I don't think we're looking to do the whole amount. I think we were looking to, at least my thought process was that we'd have an application fee that would help cover a portion of the cost, not the entire cost. And while I do think it does benefit the village, I think as a private, the person running it, to my understanding, is a person who sells a whole heck of a lot of beer. So it is a private, they are making money. This isn't, I know I keep hearing that it's not about the money, but it actually is, because if it wasn't about the money, nobody would have issue moving it down to the field, which I'm told that they may not agree to that because they want it right in front, because that's where it benefits them. So at the end of the day, I think a portion of that to be paid by the person holding the event, and I'm not talking all the events, I'm talking these events, like this here says anticipated attendance is 500 to 750, but they said that they anticipated more than the last one, and according to the Bee, they said there were about, 2,000 people there. So I don't think it's unreasonable to have a portion of those fees covered by the person who is profiting off of that event. I understand that we look good, Lancaster looks good, but it is a for-profit company, it is a for-profit event. That's just my opinion.
Before we kind of go any further with this, there's been discussion too, and some people are under the impression that a municipality can't accept payment for anything. Do you have any?
Sure, the mayor asked me to look into that months ago, and it's quite clear that the municipality can request its expenses in accommodating the special event. In fact, the city of Buffalo is doing that right now with their police force. They want to start charging a fee with regard to police security for events going on in the city. So there's no question that it's quite appropriate.
Well, it's in our code too. The code does give us the ability to.
And that's the police department that's doing it, not the city of Buffalo, correct?
Well, the police department is an agency of the city of Buffalo. The city of Buffalo is charging for the police service. The policemen are paid by the city.
Who's asking for the reimbursement? Because I know what you're talking
The
about.
city is.
I thought it was the police department. And the city, the difference is here, the city also is in dire financial straits and has a 25% tax increase
Well, I just
coming
use
up
that
this
as an
year.
illustration.
Sure. My take on it, and we've individually had this and had these discussions before, is few things. Number one, as far as it being a for-profit event for some or one or two events, for one or two businesses, for some of the events, you're right. Absolutely right. For the watch party, for sure, it is. Back in the day, before most of the businesses even were around here, the existing businesses, going back 6, 7, 8 years, keep this in mind, this piece of history is that the village of Lancaster used to throw more events. There used to be a Taste of Lancaster, an art show, car show, which has come back, and maybe one other, that were the basketball, 3-on-3, which have been taken away. And when they would take, and those were moneymakers for daytime events like that on a Saturday afternoon, were moneymakers for the merchants. The village board made the decision several years ago, we're not going to have as many official events anymore, and went to the merchants and said, but we encourage you to do so. We encourage you to do that. That's when the LVMA was formed, based on that. I, at the time, was not on this board, but was and still am a business owner. I hated that. I hated the fact, to me, I looked at it as the government's coming to us and saying, we're taking away a service we used to provide for you, and we want you to do it. The truth is, it worked out. It worked out really well. The merchants ran with it, put on more events, probably more probably widely attended events than had been done in the past. So it worked. Now, fast forward a few years later, we're saying, not only are we, here's our way of thanking you for putting on the events, now we're going to charge you. So what you want to do, and if we do charge, let's say $1,300 per event, and use the summer concert series that's going to be happening this year, assuming we approve it and don't charge them $1,300 per event. There's 4 shows going on. I was involved last year as being one of the people who were organizing it. There was fundraising done just for the event. There were 2 separate meat raffles done. There were probably 15 people who volunteered for that. The great majority of them don't have businesses that are making money for those events. They were doing it for the community. They, meaning I was one of them, were doing it for the community. When you go down there to those concerts or to a Sabres game, it's not about the money. It's not about the money that the merchants may or may not be making. But if you do tack on an additional $1,300, the net result will be you're going to lose half the events. There's not this pot of money to just give out $1,300 per event.
I don't know how, say people get charged, right? I don't know how you would figure it out. You had the possibility, if the games and dates were a little bit different, there was another business owner a little bit further down the street that wanted to host one of these as well, completely on his dime, not going through the LVMA, not doing anything else. The addition of putting on anything to a single business owner who was going to pay for it all versus going through I don't know how you would. Some of the businesses belong to the group, some of them don't, some of them are open to benefit from it, some of them are. I don't know how you would, if you were even to say, yes, go ahead and charge some, how would you go about it so it's fair to everybody?
And you have smaller groups that want to put on events, do we then exempt them, or do they get charged the full fee?
It's just going to be, what if somebody has, and what I've been thinking of too are block parties. 4th of July especially, we'll have there are people who just close down half a block for the day. Are we really going to charge them $1,300 to do that?
I
No,
never.
we don't supply any services to them.
Yeah, but
Close
you're
the street.
closing
We
down the
close
street.
That's not
Actually,
the
they
point,
do.
we're supplying the services.
We just drop off
Yeah.
the road close signs. But what makes them stop us from saying, well, I want you to clean it up now? I want the sweeper down here now. I
If
mean,
we
what-
charge them.
We
If
do it for
we
them,
charge
like,
them.
what we do it for, they could say the same thing to
Well,
us.
in my mind, the event hosts should be responsible for cleanup. Like, that's something that I think that we over provide in that regard. And I know it's out of a community benefit. We want to make sure it's done right. So we send our guys in there because they're going to do it right. But, and my thought is that a lot of communities do, the city of Buffalo does this. They'll provide trash receptacles, but you have to make sure that they're all in the same spot where it's designated, or else you get charged. I think there's a deposit. I think, if you're going to host an event that takes that has 2,000 people, you better be ready to clean up for 2,000 people.
I agree.
Well, that's also bargaining unit work, too. I mean, that's just, I mean, that,
Yeah,
correct,
you
Wayne?
can't.
Oh, really?
you-
Is that-
you
is that
can't
That's
something?
close
all
the road
bargaining
without
unit
us.
work. That's-
Okay.
No,
So if I
that's-
throw a party on the street, I can't clean up?
No, you
myself?
can. I'm just saying, what makes the, let's just say that someone's having a party, a big party for the whole block. Well, you do it for, you downtown, why can't you clean up mine? Or, why don't you have garbage cans? Why don't you have your guys here when you close the road like you do over at, I mean, they could say that they got the same rights as anybody else. They're paying
But
taxes.
would the union have a problem if we had the people who throw the party clean up after themselves on the street?
We're still gonna be there.
Right.
Because, you know what I mean? So
Maybe
it's not
not
gonna
for,
change the price.
maybe not for as long.
Right. I'm just saying it's not gonna change the price of what it cost us.
It would if you didn't, if you got out of there earlier because you didn't have to clean up.
Well, the problem is they're gonna have to clean up. We're not gonna let them have the road. We're gonna keep the road closed until they're done because I gotta move the trucks.
Okay. So we talked close the street on both ends. We've also talked about doing events, which is not a bad idea at all, in the park at some point. Some events in the park might DPW there for same amount of hours. We can't just,
Well, we wouldn't be.
You may not need as many,
Yeah,
because trucks on the street, but then again, you're getting the feedback from the businesses that if it's not out in front of my place, I don't see a benefit in, and I will not do it. I will not participate. I won't do.
so we would
Because
have to
it's
throw
not.
the event ourselves.
In front of your business, but you're not willing to share. And I'm not looking for $1,300, and I don't know how anyone else feels. I'm saying a portion of that cost, because we are giving you the right to have that on the street. That has to be understood.